Hello, my friends. This is Andy over at Today's CBD Oil, coming to you from my personal Facebook page. And wanted to talk about something fairly serious. And because it's in the news with Anthony Bourdain, who unfortunately committed suicide, I'm guessing yesterday, it is timely, right? We're all talking about it. We've had a couple of different people over the last several years that were very influential or famous people who have committed suicide. Robin Williams, more recently Kate Spade, and so I think it's important. Maybe even about a year or two ago, there was a lot of discussion about how many troops after coming back from a war are committing suicide. So it is a hot topic. It is an important one, and I think it's timely that we talk about it. And I want to make sure and tell you that I understand that this could be sensitive to talk about in relationship to the discussions I've been having about CBD oil, but I think it's an important one. I do want to make sure that you understand that never in any time that I have, hello, Matthew, that I have done any of these Facebook Lives, and am I telling you that you need to buy the CBD oil that I am, I guess, representing now because I'm an affiliate, and that is never my goal. You can get any CBD oil, and I encourage you to give it a try because of a lot of reasons, the reasons I've spoke about over the last couple months. But I think it's important that at this time, with the news that's been happening in relationship to suicides, especially Anthony Bourdain, who I loved his shows. I watched them all. I had actually pitched a couple shows to some producers in the CBS area, that did shows for CBS and Animal Planet and the Hallmark Channel, that kind of stuff, a show similar to Anthony Bourdain. So, but it had to do with dogs. And so, I really respected the man, and I'm just so sad that that's the path that he chose. And I just feel that there's so much that can be done, that, we can make sure that to let those people that we recognize the signs that maybe they're thinking about suicide or going down a path of suicide, that we're there for them, and that we can always be somebody they can listen to. I know that doesn't always work. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my experience in relationship to suicide in just a few minutes. Oh shoot. It would help if I was on camera, right? I'm sitting here talking to you and not on camera. And so now I am. And so I want to, there's always something, right? I never have a smooth, entirely smooth show. I've had pretty close to smooth shows, but there's always something going on. I was so busy looking up some of the stats and things that I just completely forgot where I was and was writing down some notes. So I apologize that I didn't bring down that cover photo too quickly or quickly enough. And so back to my discussion. And so I want you to know, again, I just want to say this is not a show to boost sales for my affiliate with HempWorks. All right. This is a serious discussion. I want you to understand that there is possibly something in relationship to CBD oil in suicides that may help some people. Right? Is it going to get rid of suicides? No, I don't believe so. Is it going to solve everybody's problems that are thinking about committing suicide or have had thoughts of suicide? No. However, based on what I know and what I've been doing over the last several months, is that I think that it's something that should be considered and maybe encouraged upon people because of my experience. And I understand the sensitivity of it all. I understand that I'm treading on very thin ice in what my message is here. And so I want you to know I am well aware of the path I'm about to go on. I am not shy, as you probably know, of taking on a little bit of risk when I put these things on. So let's first talk about me. All right. And I'm going to talk about myself. And that's important because I want you to know a little bit about me. And I'm going to be taking you to places that I think I have not told many people about. All right. So let's go all the way back before I became a police officer full time. And when I was younger than I am now. I'm young. I know I'm young now, but younger, in my early 20s. coming out of my teens and into my 20s. And as we know, as many young teens coming out of high school and into college, there's a struggle, right? There's a struggle in identity. There's a struggle on what your future is going to be. There's a struggle from, the fear of becoming an adult, right? That sense of responsibility. And that was where I was. I actually left home when I was 15 the first time. I then left again. I came back and left again when I was 17. I had many jobs. I was sleeping on friends' couch. There was a lot going on. I had a girlfriend at about that period of time that I discovered was cheating on me. And during all of that period of time, as many of you, all right, I am not alone, that there are many of you just like me during that period of time when we're trying to discover ourselves, find out who we are, that we have these things that happen to us that really take us down a dark path. And there was a period of time, again, I've only told a very few people about that, including the police department when they questioned me about it when I was there with a psychiatrist who puts you through a psych test before you get hired on the police department. And they ask you that question: have you ever thought about committing suicide? And the answer is yes. What I have found is that most people have, right? There's many, 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 many people who have, and that it is not unusual to at some point consider it. I came so close to committing suicide that I actually put a gun in my mouth. And for me, thank God, Sally Fields was doing infomercials at the time, back when infomercials, I think, were actually just getting off the ground. And this was one of the very popular ones. That Sally Fields was doing a commercial about Africa. She was talking about the children in, oh my gosh, the country just escaped me. Oh, shoot. There was a specific country, and all of you know what I'm talking about. I just can't think of it now. But they showed these videos of these children with flies on their eyes, right? And they weren't even, they've gotten so used to them, they weren't even brushing them away from their face. Their bellies were distended. They were having to hike miles for water. What they were eating was some type of porridge crap that had flies in it. And here I was at some point considering suicide, had a gun in my mouth, and Sally Fields comes on and says, please help. And I'm looking at these children in Africa. Oh my gosh, I just about have the name of the country now. I can't remember it. With living in these conditions of starvation, again, distended bellies because of the hunger that they had, the flies, and the lack of food and the lack of water. And thought to myself, what an idiot. As I sit there on my waterbed in La Mirada, California, in an air-conditioned house that has a jacuzzi, I was sitting there in a house, 3-bedroom home, again, jacuzzi in the backyard, fairly big backyard. I had a car, right? Food in the refrigerator. I would pee in a toilet and flush the water down the toilet. The fresh water that was in my toilet, I would pee in that water and flush it down. I thought about all that stuff as I was considering how horrible my life was, right? And I said, and I just started laughing, kind of like I just did now. I just started laughing. I go, what? You're going to commit suicide because of what? The stupid girl cheated on you? Who cares, right? I can drink the water out of my toilet. I don't have to walk with 2 buckets on my shoulder between a stick and then spilling it all the way back to the village and just hoping that I could just have enough water to sustain me until the next day. Or I can go to the refrigerator and get a beer. I can go to the refrigerator and get and make a bologna sandwich or whatever it was I had at that time in my refrigerator, a Pop-Tart, right? And I thought, what a moron, right? And so there is my first, I think, introduction to suicide. But I understand the feeling, right? I think I can take myself back and understand that feeling of despair, and there's no reason to live, and who would even know if I killed myself? So let's fast forward. As a police officer, I'm serving the city of Anaheim and the population of the state of California as a police officer, and there was probably not a week that didn't go by where we weren't confronted with either somebody considering suicide, somebody who had attempted suicide, or somebody who had succeeded at suicide. I remember chasing a teen across The bridge, for those of you that are here in Orange County, know that bridge that goes over the 57 freeway, just south of the 91 freeway. It's a pedestrian bridge that goes over there. I remember chasing a teenager, trying to catch up. I'm in uniform with my gun, and I can see him running. Blood's flying off of his arms because he slit his arms open. And I ended up, he comes down the other side of that bridge. I tackled him in the residential area and held his arms shut as he said, "Dude, you are so fast." And I thought, well, it's not that hard to catch up to a person who's bleeding to death. And so, yes, I was able to catch him and hold his arms shut. And fortunately, at that time, I don't know what happened to him later on, but at least on that time, he wasn't successful in committing suicide. Another time, we had chased a gentleman throughout Riverside County and then into Orange County. And I ended up being lead in the pursuit. He ends up spinning out and ends up turning and facing me. I drove into him and blocked him. He was a gentleman who was very upset about his former wife, who was dating somebody new, and his children that he had with her were now living with her and her new boyfriend, and he just had lost it. And all he wanted to do was see his children. That's all he kept telling me he wanted to do. And I remember having 2 hours or so or more of negotiations coming into 4 o'clock in the morning as rush hour was beginning to set in. And all of the supervision my sergeant who was working for was worried about was getting the cars out of the way, because we had spun out in the middle of the 91 freeway, which is one of the busiest freeways on the planet, especially during rush hour. And he said, just get that guy to move his car. And I kept telling him, just wait. I almost have him. I need to continue to talk to him. And he ordered me to move my police car. And I said, no, we cannot. And instead, he said, this is an order. I told you to move your police car. And what he wanted me to do is move it back so that we can give him space so that he would possibly give up. That did not happen. As I moved my car back, he pulled the trigger right as I was watching him and blew the top of his head off with a .44 revolver and killed himself. And so I've seen it up close. I've been around. So I only tell you that because I want to give myself some credibility. I want you to look at me as I'm coming from a place of experience. I know the pain. I've seen the pain. I've seen the results. I've seen it a lot. And so it's important for you to know that. Let me just take a minute after settling all that and giving you my background. And I'm going to go ahead and take this lower third off if I can find the button. The button disappeared. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. All right. So Glenn, for near, it is probably better than taking antidepressants. They will make you suicidal. Right. Yeah. Matthew Adams says, you rock, dude. I love Matthew Adams. I'm not sure what I said at that time to rock, but maybe just doing this, bringing this episode to you, I think is just an important one. So first of all, I want you to know that nothing what I'm about to say has been I've not gone through the FDA to get approval for anything I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you anything that CBD oil is going to cure any disease. If Matthew, you're still watching, if you could put the disclaimer there in the comments, I would appreciate it. I know I should always have it handy, and I don't right now. But if you happen to have it, go ahead and put that in there. But I am not going to say that CBD oil is going to cure anything. It is a dietary supplement. That's important for you to know. CBD oil is legal in all 50 states. It comes from the industrial hemp, not from cannabis that is used for smoking like marijuana with THC. It is not that type of thing. All right. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. All right. Now let's come back to what I want to talk about and give you some more statistics. And then I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to talk about CBD oil and why I think it might be something that should be tried. Right. Again, I don't think necessarily it's going to cure suicide. I don't think necessarily that's going to help everybody. But I think there's a place for it, and it could be something that could be important that we make sure that people know about, that it is something that they can take that might take some of the edge off. All right, so I'm going to come back to that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and bring these stats up here. Oops, wrong one. Oh, nope, that's the correct one. There we go. All right, so I'm going to show this here, and these are some of the stats. And so this is important to know. And some of the things that we think about suicide may not be true, but it doesn't mean that it is important to know. So number one, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. The 10th. Can you believe that? It is the 10th. The 10th. It is incredible. Each year, 44,965 Americans 44,965 Americans die by suicide. Die, not attempt suicide, die by suicide. For every suicide, there are 25 attempts. So just times that number of 44,965 by 25. Right? That's how many attempts of suicide. Of course, people say, well, that's people who want attention. Well, some people didn't want attention. They really were trying and they just failed, right? They flinched before they pulled the trigger or whatever. Or they didn't take enough medication that they thought was going to kill them. And they really did mean to kill themselves, but just didn't take enough. So it's not everybody who has attempted suicide is just doing it for attention. But either way, it's still important to know that there's something behind it, right? They're looking for help and just don't know how to ask. Suicide costs the U.S. $69 billion. I don't really care about that, but it is important to know. So it's important for us to look at it because it's costing everybody else about $69 billion annually in the United States alone. The annual age-adjusted suicide rate is 13.42 per 100,000 individuals. On average, there is 123 suicides per day. So by the end of today, 123 people have committed suicide by the end of today. Firearms account for 51% of all suicides in 2016. Men, of course, die by suicide 3.53 times more often than women. So 3.5 more times than women, men die by suicide. White males accounted for 7 of 10 suicides in 2016. The rate of suicide is the highest in middle-aged white men in particular. And then by state, the one interesting thing I found is that Montana is number one. At least it was in 2016. In 2016, Montana rated number one of all the states leading in suicide. California, strangely enough, as horrible it is to live here, at least right now, ranked 45. So I don't understand that, but yeah, all right. I would thought it was going to be one of the higher ones. New Mexico is 4th. I was trying to find number 2. Number 3 is Wyoming. Nevada is number 6. Wow, what's number 2? Number 2, Nevada, Idaho. Huh. I'm not going to find it, am I? I have no idea. Wyoming's number 3, number 1. Yeah, I can click on these all day, but I'm not going to find out who number 1 is or number 2 is. I just wanted to find out who number 2 was. But there's a lot, right? So it doesn't matter. But I do find it strange that Montana is the leader in all of our states of suicide. I was a little shocking because it seems like more people go to Montana because it's a place of relaxation, a place for people that want to retire. And maybe that's it. Maybe the retired age is higher over there than, and so there's more people in that demographic that commit suicide. Thank you for putting that up, Matthew. I do appreciate that very much. All right. So let me come back. Let me go ahead and bring that down. I'm going to come back to camera here for a second while I'm looking for my other site. And I'm going to bring into attention what I originally wanted to bring here. Or I mean, to the point that I'm getting, where I'm going is my point for doing this broadcast. So let's come to this stat here. So these stats here, and I know you can, if you're on a phone, you probably can't see them, but I do want to bring them up and just talk about them. But so here are some of the warning signs that deal with suicide. Now, many of you already know them, but I'm just going to remind us all of what they are. So if a person, of course, talks about killing themselves, feeling hopeless, having no reason to live, being a burden to others, feeling trapped, unbearable pain, I think that in my teens and in my early 20s, I have felt many of those things. I've shared with people that during my retirement as a police officer, because of some of the things that I went through, I have had some incredible bouts of unbearable internal pain where I thought I was going to die, and it just did not know where that feeling came from. But again, there's many of us that do have that feeling. Or did, all right? So in the behavior, so that's in talk. So if people say those things, you need to be, that should send up a red flag. In behavior, increased use of alcohol or drugs, looking for a way to end their lives, such as searching online for methods, withdrawing from activities. So suddenly somebody is no longer participating in stuff that's fun and inclusive of other people, isolating from family and friends, sleeping too much or too little, visiting or calling people to say goodbye. That is a good sign that somebody's on the path to committing suicide. Giving away prized possessions, aggression and fatigue. Giving away prized possessions. Those are interesting ones that I did not really, well, aggression, of course, but aggression, I don't look at it as it was leading to suicide, but it sure makes sense when you put it this way. So now we're going to get in the area where I think that for me personally, I believe where CBD oil for me has come into play. Not that I was getting ready to commit suicide. I have 5 beautiful kids. I am not going anywhere. I'm not going to do anything to take my influence on them or my training of them or teaching of them. Yes, I said training, teaching of them, my influence on them. Am I going to take that away? So I want you to understand that this isn't my cry for help. I am fine. And I want you to know that. All right. So I'm going to tell you that prior to CBD oil, there were some of these things that were kind of edging in there. All right. So I want to make sure that this is clear. I'm going to be talking about these things. I'm going to tell you where I was feeling some of those things and what has happened to me since I started taking this dietary supplement. All right. Really, really important. And this isn't the first time I'm talking about it. I've talked about it in another broadcast. I just know that right now, because Anthony's suicide is in the news, because Kate Spade is in the news about her suicide, because Robin Williams was in the news, because of other people. And I can't think of all their other names, but these are the people that jump out at me. Because what happens when these things happen, what happens when somebody like Anthony commits suicide is these suicides increase in the United States of America. If you did not know that, all right? Because people are saying, well, if it was good enough for him, I guess that's the right path for me. If you look up in any website that gives good knowledge base for suicides, it is common that the suicide rate goes up when people of influence commit suicide. All right, whenever somebody of influence committed suicide, the suicide rate goes up. And so it's important today, I thought, that I come on and share my experience with suicide, my experience with the people that have committed suicide in front of me. One of the first calls one of my buddies went on was a car stop where the guy got out of the car, put a gun to his chin, and while they were out of the car and said, stop, he blew his head off, and all of them were covered with his body fluids. This is something that happens commonly. This is something that many police officers have to live with. Soldiers who go to Iran and Iraq live with this kind of stuff all the time, right? An interesting fact, though, that I found out is that there aren't more people that commit suicide that are retired from military. That is a little bit of a myth. There is a large number that do, so I'm not going to take that away. But there's a little bit of a myth that there's more people that commit suicide that have been in the military than anybody else. No, that is not true. But it is still a concern. Again, I'm not going to take that away from them. All right. So let me go back to my stats here really quick, because this is important. This is where I want to go with this. So if we are to look at the mood, people are considering suicide often display one or more of the following moods: depression, anxiety, loss of interest, irritability, humiliation and shame, agitation, anger, relief, sudden relief, and relief improvement or sudden improvement, which is really odd, right? Suddenly they're now giggly and laughing, but it's almost odd. Right. So, and I believe that that's what they want you to know, that suddenly they're all suddenly happy and giddy, that now it's over the top, is a sign of suicide. So let me go over them again, just to make sure that they're clear. Depression, anxiety, loss of interest, irritability, humiliation, shame, agitation, anger, relief, and relief, sudden improvement. All right. I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to paste those into the comments. Hopefully comments will work for me today. And of course, it does not. April, I think you're on. Why does this happen on my watch that I cannot paste into my own thing there? Really, really odd. I don't know why that is. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to paste this, believe it or not. All right. So here it is in the comments. So I'm putting all of these things in the comments. All right. Anxiety, loss of interest, irritability, humiliation, shame, agitation, anger, relief, sudden improvement. All right. So you see these things there in the comment. So why do I bring these up today? And I do it on my, would be considered my show involving CBD oil. Why would I do that? Right? Is it to boost sales? No, because I don't care if you buy CBD oil from me. I don't care. I want you to use something as a dietary supplement only because I think it will help you. Right? There's no known side effects that I know of. I have not found any. I've seen some of the scientists speak that are doing studies on it, and they say there are no known side effects of CBD oil. So why not give it a shot? Because if it's anything like me, where I have had bouts of anxiety, the day before I started taking CBD oil, I had stopped myself 2 or 3 times from going to the emergency room because I believed that I was going to die. I wasn't going to hurt anybody. I wasn't thinking about committing suicide, but the internal feeling of when I woke up was that I was going to die. My heart's pounding, my palms are sweating. I just had this unsettling feeling that something was bad was going to happen, and it's not a good feeling. I have to tell you, right? That feeling that nothing I can do to shake it was just like it was bad. And then I get busy and do stuff and try to take my mind off it, and was battling through that every so often. Again, not to the point of suicide. I don't want anybody, again, I have kids. I don't want anybody to get me wrong, but it's that feeling. And there's many of you that have had this. If they took the kids away from all the parents that had anxiety or depression, there would be no parents left to take care of kids. And so it wasn't so that and again, I think quite often was when I didn't have the kids, right? When I have the kids, I'm so busy with them, taking care of them, that none of those feelings had a chance to come into place. But once I started taking CBD oil, for me as a dietary supplement, those feelings of anxiety, I've not had them since. I'm going on 2 months where I've had no feelings, where it's almost a weekly thing, right? It's almost a weekly thing where I have at least a little feeling of anxiousness or a little feeling of just sadness, or that things aren't going right and that kind of stuff. Even though I have a smile on my face, right? Even though I'm laughing and giggling and telling jokes, internally, this is what's going on, or has been going on, and no longer. And so I come to you today on this day after the news of Anthony Bourdain committing suicide, Kate Spade, and all the others that are in the news, to tell you that this is something that I think that maybe some people should consider, right? Maybe the opioids or whatever that they're taking for other ailments is causing some of the stuff. Maybe it is just simply they've not been given the right combination of medication. Maybe, as Glenn said, it is probably better than taking antidepressants. Antidepressants, they make you suicidal. Those antidepressants, I've heard from other people that they take away the pain in one area and distribute it in another area, and then you want to kill yourself even more. And so what if you threw in a little bit of CBD oil to see if, because it has none of those side effects, because it has no known side effect that I have heard of and nobody else has mentioned, that you give it a shot to see if it could change something. If this little bottle, 10 drops in the morning, 10 drops in the evening, or 5 drops in the morning, 5 drops, whatever it is, whatever the combination is that takes those feelings away, would that not be worthwhile to give it a shot? And again, I'm telling you that because I know for sure, for me, it has been something that has helped with me. All right. And so I just want to tell you about that. I want to thank all of you before I end this, because this is super important, that over the last week, I was over this week, in the beginning of this week, I was in San Diego, and I was launching a pre-sale of a new book that I'm writing, and it's called Today's CBD Oil. And those of you that bought it helped me get to a #1 bestseller. This is my 9th #1 bestseller. It actually might be my 10th. I forget. I got to look that up. It's my 9th or my 10th bestseller, but it was all because of you. And that little arrow there points to where it says on Amazon that I'm a #1, that I'm a bestseller. If you go to Amazon right now and type in Today's CBD Oil in the search portion of Amazon, you'll see that banner. That it's a bestseller. And it was in multiple categories and international categories. And so it's an international #1 bestseller as a pre-sale in Amazon. And it is because of you guys that this book is a #1 bestseller. As soon as it's complete, it'll be out for purchase. This is a mock-up, is what they call it. This is a mock-up of the book, and because it's in pre-sale. But yes, this book will be out shortly. I'm hoping to have it done before the deadline. The deadline is 86 days or something like that. And so that's about 80 days from now, somewhere in there. So about 80 days from now, that's the deadline. I am hopeful that it will be done before that, maybe 30 days or so, maybe 45 days. I'll have it done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my story in there about how I came upon CBD oil, what happened when I finally decided to use it. I'm going to put in some facts that I've learned about CBD oil, the myths, the things that people think they know about CBD oil that are not true, and then the things that are true about CBD oil. I'm going to put in some testimonials, and maybe even, if I can, a couple other bonuses in there about the dosage. I'm working on a couple things. It is a hard one to nail down how much somebody should take, but I'm going to give you some examples of what people are, of how much they're using, how many drops they're using, and that type of thing. All right. Last thing, and again, thank you for helping me get to #1 bestseller. I appreciate it. It's an international bestseller because of you guys purchasing it, the pre-sale, with the excitement that it's coming out. All right. One other thing, there are two things. There's one person that sent me a private message and I lost it. I clicked on it, read it, and then when I went to go do research to try to answer a question, I came back and it was gone. And I apologize, whoever you are. It's a woman who texted me who said she's been taking it and she's seen no results yet. I think it's been about 30 days. She's not seen any change in anything as far as doing it. And here I am telling you, right? There are people that are going to have no change, no benefit from CBD oil. There's people that take Viagra and have no benefit from Viagra, right? There are people that take a bunch of other stuff and it's just the same. There are some people that, or whatever reason, this is not the thing that's going to help them through whatever it is they were looking for, right? And it's possible. It is possible. But I've seen a great number of people. I've seen repurchases. I see people buying again in my account. So I know that's helping a lot of people that have bought from some of the messages that I put on. So obviously it's doing something or else they wouldn't have purchased again, right? And then all the testimonial pages that I'm in. I've seen so many examples of how CBD oil is helping them as a dietary supplement in what it is that they are dealing with. All right. So to answer your question, that is possible. And I wish it was. I wish it were helping with whatever it is that you are looking for it to help you with. The one thing is you can give it another 30 days and just see if it's taken that amount of time to get through. I'm sure there are things that have to do with, and I'm guessing only, and it's kind of an educational guess because I've read some things, is that, you know, your weight is going to have something to do with it. Your diet is going to have something to do with your how active you are. Some of these things are going to be factors, and so it could take longer for some people to see an impact. And then again, there's people that it's just not going to touch. It's not going to do that thing. All right. Somebody else, I think, one of our other people who bought into Christy. Shoot, is it Christy Mattoon? I can't remember, but for some reason she's having difficulty in within the website. Right. And so we're here to help you, Christy. I saw that just before I came on. I'm not sure when you sent that message, but Matthew, probably more Matthew than me, but Matthew and I will do our best to get you through whatever is happening. Sometimes there's glitches. You know, we launched 111 authors over the last 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we still have 2 people out of the 111 that for whatever reason, we can't get their books to go through Amazon. And we can't get them up. We can't get them purchased. It's really bizarre. We cannot figure it out, but there's always 2, right? There's always 2 or there's always 3 that for whatever reason, the system just is not working for them at this time. It could be Christy. It's the same thing. Just for whatever reason, it is not working for you. And I, have no idea. Oops, sorry. Now I see all these things that are in here. Wow. Sorry about these comments. I'm going to put a comment up here. It's going to cover my entire face, I have a feeling. All right. I sent my 82-year-old dad some $750 to give to my 81-year-old mom, who has just had surgery for blocked bowel. She ended up with a colonoscopy, but hasn't eaten much in about 6 months or post-op. My dad was driving me crazy, asking me over and over if this will give him side effects to get him high. Anyway, mom's doing better, eating and dad is taking it too for a sore neck, which he says is better about 3 weeks ago. Oh my gosh. Ma, thank you for that. I do appreciate that comment. That is awesome. Oh, that, I was already emotional because I was really trying not to get emotional when I was talking about some of the things that I'd gone in, and I was successful. And here I'm reading about Ma's parents, and here I am getting teary-eyed. So Matthew just wanted to say, if you do want to order, go to todayscbdoil.com. All right. So again, that's not why I'm on. I'm on because I think that I do it's something that should be given a shot, right? Instead of not, well, okay, I don't want to be careful. I don't want to say instead of. If a doctor tells you to take something, then maybe that is probably, and then in many instances, I think that that's, what people think that they should do. And then you should. All right. I know that I have not had great success with some of the things that my doctors have done and prescribed me, that it's kind of backfired. And so that's my experience. I know that since I've been taking CBD oil, it has changed my life. Right? It literally has changed my life. Oh, I was going to show you the picture of my blood pressure. Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to say that for the next show. I'm going to say you're going to fall out of your chair of what my blood pressure is. And again, if you've watched all my shows and know that I've had high blood pressure since I was a kid, super high blood pressure, not just kind of high pressure that every time I go to the doctor just to check in and say hi, that they almost keep me every time. That's how high it's been. The last 3 times I've gone, they go, oh my God, your blood pressure is fantastic. And I cannot wait to show you what my blood pressure is this time. Fantastic. All right. So, I was telling you about Christy. I told you about the lady who sent a message that it's not helping her. Some people it doesn't. Right. If you know anybody that's suffering through even the slightest bit of anxiety, like I was, where it was just like, oh God, I just don't want to feel this horrible feeling of anxiousness that I'm going to die. Right. I just don't want that feeling. Right. If you have people that are like that in your life, we just don't want it to turn into something else. We don't want them to get into that dark area where the option is taking their own life and denying their family this person's life, right? The influence that they can have, a positive influence, right? Not negative, positive influence that they can have on somebody else's life. I adore my children. I adore all my friends that I have in all the areas of business that I deal with. And I just want you to know that is not my path. That is not something I want, but I want to be healthier. I want to be happier. I don't want to be dealing with you while I'm going through bouts of anxiety. Right. And so I am thankful for what CBD oil, in particular, what HempWorks CBD oil has done for me. All right. I am thankful for what it's done because it just makes it a much better day every day. And I shared with you the other day, I was on the 5 freeway heading down to San Diego after just returning from San Diego, being there from 3 days. I testified in a federal court case where the opposing attorney just rips me apart and talks about my mother and who I am and what size feet I have, and did it with a smile, with a real smile, not a covering smile. I just was comfortable with that. You can say all you want because it doesn't change the facts of what I know as a canine expert, right? And you can say all you want. And I could do that with such good feelings and not be concerned. To turn around, drive back from San Diego to come home, to watch Las Vegas Knights lose. Oh, I wanted them to win so bad, and have no concern of feeling anxious, of being depressed. Just life is good, right? And it's not because it gets you high. It's not because it's like medical marijuana where the THC is an important part of that. It's not. The THC is not non-existent. All right. In the CBD oil, it is about the cannabinoids that are in the CBD oil. And that's what it's about. It is not about THC. It is not about making you high. It is about working on your cannabinoid system so that it runs better and regulates better and takes away all the inflammation and works on your inflammation and really seems to help with anxiousness and depression and feeling sad. Matthew Adams is one of those people who shares his story too, about how his feelings of rage and anger and things have all but disappeared since he's been taking CBD oil. It's a story he tells often. He's come on my show and talked about it and has shared in the comments about that feeling and how it's gone when he's on CBD oil. And so I think in this time, again, this is probably the third or fourth time I repeated this, is that this is an important time to just consider it. I would say, just like if I were to say, if you have a cold, you should be taking vitamin C or whatever it is, whatever vitamins you need to take to keep from getting a cold. It's that same kind of advice, right? Don't look at it because it's a cannabis that I'm somehow telling you to do something that's horrible. All right. No, that's not what I'm trying to tell you to do. I'm simply trying to give you something as a dietary supplement, right? It's kind of like eating better. It's like getting exercise. It's like breathing good air. I'm saying CBD oil is like those things that add that to your day, add it to your diet, and there's a good chance that you will not have to feel those feelings, and it will keep you from getting on the dark side, I believe, right? Again, there's no guarantee. I have people that have messaged me to say that, hey, I've taken it and it's not doing anything for me right now. And I understand that because that's just how life is, right? Not everything works all the time, every time for everybody. All right. So that's my message. I want you all to think of the things that we talked about in dealing with your friends and family about if you hear people talk about, of course, killing themselves, right? If somebody says, don't say that, pacha, right? You're not going to kill yourself, right? How about saying, well, let's talk. Let's go to Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf and let's sit down and just share with me why you had that feeling. Is there anything that we can do together to help you stop having those feelings? The feeling of hopelessness, of having no reason to live, of being burdened, being a burden to others. You are not a burden to others. You are not a burden. That is one of the things that I had to deal with my former wife and marriage, is that it was always a burden, right? Hey, can you stop on the way? Can you come to my office because I forgot something? Really? You can't come and get it yourself, right? That feeling of being a burden was often put out. I'm just going to share that right now, right? And so that's that feeling that like she was telling me I was a burden, right? I forgot something. We lived literally 3/4 of a mile. My office was 3/4 of a mile from my home, right? You can't bring me the thing that I need that I forgot, which was my computer or something like that. Like, can you bring that? No, I don't have time. Why would I do that? Well, because I need your help, right? Can you take me to the airport? Why would I do that? Just take an Uber. Well, because I want to go with you and we could drive together and we can talk, right? If somebody is coming to you and saying, you know what, I feel like I'm a burden. Can we do this together? Don't shut them down or shut them off and say they're not important. If they're your family, if they're your spouse, it's not a burden. That's your family. That's your spouse. It's time to be spent with one another. That's the time to reach out to them and say, I don't want you to feel like you're a burden, because you're not. I care about you. I love you. And I want to spend this time with you. I do have stuff to do at work, but that's not nearly as important as you and your feeling. Feeling trapped. People say, I just feel trapped in my job. I feel trapped in this relationship. I feel trapped as a mom. I feel trapped as a dad, right? Those feelings are normal. But if nobody talks to you about them, or you don't talk to somebody about their feelings of being trapped, and has some positive empathy. Empathy is a weird word, right? I hate to say just, I have empathy. Well, what good does that do me? Nothing. No, have real empathy and say, hey, I've gone through that myself and it was tough. And this is what I did to get through it. Or, I had nobody, but I want to be there for you, because I know that feeling of not having somebody. And so I'm going to help you. And then, of course, unbearable pain. If their behavior, I'm sorry I'm going so long on these things, but this is an important topic to me. I go long on everything. All right, behavior. Increased use of alcohol, drugs, looking for a way to end their lives, searching online for methods, right? You want to check your teens when they're living at home. You want access to their, don't act like, don't be like, oh, I don't want to, tread on their personal space. And right, shut up. They're living in your house. Look on their browser, look on their computer, find out what they're doing, find out who they're talking to, pay attention to who they're spending time with on the internet. It's your job, right? Okay, so do that, right? If they're looking up things that you're going, hey, how come they're talking about looking up suicide, right? It is not good, especially after a celebrity commit suicide. You can dismiss it, say, well, somebody just committed suicide. That's why they're searching for so many things about suicide, right? You can put that together and say, well, the reason they're looking at things about suicide so often is because somebody a celebrity just committed suicide. Well, isn't that the time to have the discussion about suicide with your teen? Is that not the perfect time? Is because they're interested in it and say, there may be a point where they begin to cry because you're talking about it, or you see their face change, or you say, well, suddenly they don't want to talk about it. I think that would be something that you should say, maybe there's more to it than them just looking into it because a celebrity committed suicide. This could be one of those situations, but because of somebody with celebrity status is now considering it themselves, or they were considering it before, but now they're actually thinking about going through with it, right? Because there's some validation in that a celebrity did it. If they can do it and have the strength to do it, and if they thought it was going to be a good thing, then it must be a good thing because they're a celebrity. Remember, celebrities, unfortunately, have an influence on our behavior, right? And so they could be the Kardashians. Is that somebody that you want influencing your teen's behavior? Probably not necessarily. Maybe on a business aspect, that they've been successful in some aspect of business. They've hired the right people. That could be the positive thing. But, right, you don't want that influence, that influence on your teen in the area of suicide, drug taking, abuse of alcohol, all the other things, right? And so you want to make sure and keep track of that. Isolating from family and friends, withdrawing from activities, sleeping too much, visiting, calling people to say goodbye, giving away prized possessions, aggression, and fatigue. And so you see those things, you're going to want to do that. You know what? I'm going to copy and paste that too. Gosh darn it. I'm going to put that in my message and throw that in there just because I think it's important and I want you to see it. If you didn't hear these things before, if they're new to you, I want to make sure that you have it. All right. Carmen, good day. Have a good day. You have a good day too. All right. So there's that. Those are in there. All right. So, and then the areas that I think CBD oil may have a hand in is that's helping people through some anxiety, some levels of depression, the pain that they're feeling, of anxiousness and that kind of stuff. I know for me, it has been successful in helping me through those things. All right. So I know that I've gone on way longer than as normally as I intended to. Matthew, supplement truth. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes quick, sometimes slow. Yeah, that's it. Very good. Very good. All right. Carmen, my sister from another mister. I have no idea if Carmen and I are related, but she's on my shows a lot and I appreciate her being on my shows. Matthew is watching. I think that's what that means. Important information to share. I appreciate that. All right. So very good. I think I've covered all the bases that I want to. Again, thank you for buying my book, Today's CBD Oil. And the subtitle is The Truth About This Powerful Ancient Medicine in Today's World. Former canine police officer. That's on there too. I don't know if you can see that. So it says on there, former, oh man, I can't get it to not glare. Former police canine officer. We thought that was important on there to put it to give us some credibility that it's just not, it's not a lifetime marijuana user who's taking CBD oil. No, it has nothing to do with that. And I feel safe taking it because THC is not a big part of it. And in some cases, it's zero in relationship to CBD oil. All right. So that's my message for today. And I hope that I presented it right. I hope that I laid a good foundation to show you why I thought this was an important message. And if there's anybody that you know that needs somebody to talk to, be that person to talk to. I wish I was wealthy enough to give away bottles to any of you that thought you might have somebody that should try it. I wish I was. Someday I will be if I have my way. Just say, here, if you live near me and need some, I do have a couple of free bottles. If you feel like, hey, I've been feeling that anxiety. If you live near here in Orange County, I would be more than happy to find a way to get it to you so you can use a bottle and see if it'll help you through some of the things that you're feeling of anxiousness, and would be happy to give you one of my, I think I have 2 bottles currently that I could give away. If you get a hold of me and send me a private message, and you want to give it a shot and you want to try it, I'm happy to give that to you for free. All right. It's just when it comes to shipping it out, I'll have somebody from Australia say, hey, can you ship me out 10 bottles? That I can't do. But if you live here near Brea, California, I will do my best to find a way to get it to you so you can give it a shot and see if it'll help you. All right. That's it. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.